Hi, everyone. Marisa Stone here with Simon Says Social and the Systems Lounge, and I want to welcome you today to the 2018 Premier International Women's Business Systems Virtual Summit, where you get to learn all about the systems that our speakers are using to get things done. And today I am super excited to have Amy Lanci here. She is going to talk with us all about loving our body now. Now, I know to many of you this does not sound like a system, but let me tell you what. When we're talking about putting ourselves back on our schedule, this is one of the ways in which we do that. So let me tell you a little bit about Amy. So when Amy was 8 years old, her friend's mother pointed at her and laughed as she was standing in the middle of the schoolyard. And it was because she had a little tummy bulge. From that moment on, she based her value and self-worth on how big or small her stomach was, until one day she decided she'd had enough. 3 months after making that decision, she found the love of her life, and she went on a journey to eventually overcome her emotional eating, food, and body image issues. And most of all, she found herself, and she's never letting go, which I love. Now she's on a mission to help other women love their bodies and to have that space where they can now live this unapologetic life. Amy currently lives in San Diego with her wonderful husband, her courageous little girl, and her 2 mischievous dogs. Amy, welcome to the summit. I am so excited to have you here.
Oh, thank you for having me here. I couldn't have introduced myself better, so thank you so much.
You're very welcome. So let's just begin at the beginning. What does it truly mean? We hear this all the time. Love your body, love your body. What does this truly mean?
It means not wishing you were someone else or that you looked differently. Simply that.
Yeah. Wow. And I think that resonates with a lot of people, right? Because how many of us stand in front of the mirror and go, so for those of you who can't tell, I am really short. Like, I can't even legally drive in some states. And how many times would I stand in front of the mirror and go, oh my gosh, if I was just a couple of inches taller, right? So I think that resonates with a lot of us, is that, okay, yes, I'm short, but you know what? I have some amazing sons who are willing every single time to go to the grocery store with me and grab stuff off that top shelf, to go into my kitchen. I can stand in the middle of my kitchen and say, I need a tall person, and they all come. So how blessed am I to have people like that around me? So yeah. I love that we're having this conversation today, because I think it's really important that we really dive into this and think about this. So absolutely. I have another question for you. Why should entrepreneurs, people like you and me, be concerned with this idea of loving our bodies?
Well, as entrepreneurs, we know that this is probably the greatest personal development journey, really ever. I mean, aside from our own lives, really, but just when you become an entrepreneur, it's a whole deeper level of personal development. And when you think about it, you are your business, right? And when you are your business, you have to show up to your business. And if you are not whole, if you are just constantly being like, I have to make it look like I have it all together on the outside, when on the inside, I just hate myself every time I look in the mirror, you're not whole. You're just kind of living a split life, and you can't really be that confident person representing your brand, your message, just you in general. And you just kind of feel like maybe like a fraud sometimes. Like, oh my gosh, people are going to see the chinks in my armor, or they're going to see, like, if I don't wear the right dress suit or whatever, they're going to see like, oh, I have maybe a tummy, or maybe like my shoulders are too big or something like that. And they're gonna be like, you're not the mentor I want. That could all be in your head. It's like your inner critic is just constantly letting you down, and you're actually not as successful as you would have been had you just own up to who you are, be confident in that, be comfortable in your skin, and just be completely genuine with who you are in your entrepreneurial life and in your personal life.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. So I'm sure if we were to poll this audience, let's just assume we were able to poll them. I'm sure if we would poll this audience today, there are going to be women in the room who say, yes, I'd like to lose some weight, or yes, I'd like to, eat healthier, or whatever it is. How is wanting to change something like that, losing weight or whatever the case may be, different from not loving our bodies?
Well, it kind of goes a couple of different ways, right? So you can look at it as like different compartments, right? You can say like, oh, I need to love myself, so that's a whole other area over here, and I need to lose the weight for health reasons, and I put that whole other here, and you can just never connect the two and wonder like why why is maybe not losing the weight, or why can't I let go of my need for sugar when I'm stressed out? Like, it's not equating. Or you can also look at it as like you're linking the two, but in a way where you're like, oh, okay, I need to lose the weight so I have more confidence. But really what you're saying to yourself is, to be confident, I need to change the way I look. But it's all covered in the blanket of self-care. Even though I'm all for self-care, I think self-care is essential. It's just sometimes we can confuse self-care for wanting our insecurities to be answered.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And I think you described it perfectly, right? If we're really talking about, I need to lose weight because I'll be more confident, that's really a confidence issue. That's not really a weight issue.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And
Exactly.
so really, I think really diving in and understanding that. So one of the things that you work with women on is understanding this idea that how you feel about your body has nothing to do with how you look. And I think we're alluding a little bit to this, but everything to do with how you value yourself. Can you dive into that just a little more?
Well, so in part of my story, I got to a point where I was convinced I would have to be a size 6 for Mr. Right to find me, that somehow Prince Charming was only going to notice me if I looked a certain way. And when I did go forward and I had enough, I was 200 pounds at the time, and that was a big step for me. That was such a huge step, because it was like questioning every belief I had, that none of this happy stuff was gonna happen for me until I got to a certain size. But I went forward anyways, being over 200 pounds, and I found Mr. Right, and that totally blew everything out of the water. And then also, secondly, like, even when when we were happily married, and I got my health right on track, and I happened to get to my weight loss goal at a size 4, I wasn't happy still, because I had gone the other direction. I had gone the whole like calorie counting crazy and exercising 3 to 4 times a day. And everyone kept telling me like, oh my gosh, we admire you so much because, look at you. And really all I could think was like, oh my gosh, how many calories are in this cup of baby carrots, and how do I lose another 10 pounds? Because all I kept thinking was like whatever tummy I had left. So really, like, if you just say, I'm going to lose weight and have more confidence, believe me, when the two stories I just told you, I mean, really, like, I should have just been like over the moon and like completely confident in myself when I was a size 4, but that didn't happen because I didn't do that deeper work yet. That was like work that was set forth for me at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just basically, you just have to value yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And now, really, a third story is that after I went to my smallest, I got pregnant with my daughter, and that was when I actually healed from my food and body image issues, which is when most women would say they had the most body image issues,
Right.
all that weird stuff. But for me, Mariah, you told that part of my story where my friend's mom pointed and laughed at me in the middle of the schoolyard because of my stomach. Well, here I was pregnant, and the stomach was the thing that was proving my body was not broken. My body was serving a positive purpose for once. It was doing exactly what it was supposed to do, and all I could do was just admire this process, and it made me really step back and just evaluate my life and evaluate my values and myself, and just take it all in and just
Wow.
transcend to that next level. And it's also like, when you think about, like, well, one of the most beautiful women in Hollywood ever, Marilyn Monroe, like, she was admired by everyone by her beauty, but yet, she still wasn't happy with herself because no one saw her as more than a sex symbol at the time.
Yeah.
Or Tiger Woods, cheated on his wife, and everyone around me was like, why would he cheat on his wife? She's so beautiful. It's like, well, it has nothing to do with how beautiful she is. It has everything to do with how he valued her, how he valued himself, how he valued the other women he was with, how maybe to some extent how she valued herself.
Yeah.
So those are just a few examples and stories of what I mean, that it has everything to do with how you value yourself, but not what you see in the mirror.
And that makes so much sense when you put it like that. Like when you talk about Marilyn Monroe, one of the things that we've noticed over the decades is that what we consider as society to be beautiful changes. I think Marilyn Monroe was like a size, she was double digits. She was like a size 14 or something. Well,
Yeah.
that's the average woman in the United States today, right?
Mm-hmm.
And back then that was seen as a sex symbol, whereas today it's very, very different. And so you have to understand that you can't live on that roller coaster of what society thinks is right. You have to find happiness in you so you can do the amazing things you want to do, you know? So that
Mm-hmm.
totally makes sense and totally resonates with me. So what would you say to the woman who's really, really depressed over this fact that she's not skinnier or curvier or taller or shorter or more tan or whatever the more is that she wants to be? What would you say to that woman who's really depressed and in that moment really unhappy with her life because of that?
Well, first of all, I would tell her she's not alone. She's anything but alone. Like I don't know. Unfortunately, it's very rare for a woman to say, I am completely and utterly in love with myself and how I look. So
Yeah,
I would first tell this woman, like, you're not alone. I've been there, and sometimes in my weakest moments, sometimes I do go back there, and I have to, and it's just a matter of like how quickly can I snap back and remember like all the great things that have happened in my life, and then I would proceed to tell her like, you know what, no one else is you, no one gets to be you.
that's right.
Hmm.
That's right. And celebrate that piece of you because nobody can be that. Only you.
Hmm.
Yeah, I
Exactly.
agree with that. So one of the things that you work with your clients on is actually identifying what you call the root causes of their body image issues. How exactly is that done?
So essentially, it starts with a conversation, right? And so when I was 3 years old, I was speech delayed. I didn't talk till I was three. And
Yeah.
because of that, my listening skills are way better than my talking skills, especially in my most stressed out moments. It's easier for me to listen to someone than to talk to somebody at that point. And
Mm-hmm.
what happens is that when I have a conversation with somebody, I'll hear a little red light and I'll be like, wait, go back. Repeat that. Okay, let's talk more about that. It's more like I'm kind of decoding them in a way. Like, for instance, I was talking to a potential collaborator, right? And we decided to exchange services just to kind of get to know each other. So on the call with her, she was talking about how she loves herself now, but there was a time in her life when she did covet certain features from other women and she wished she had them. And I was like, well, where do you think that's from? And she said, oh, probably society and the pressure and the media and yada, yada, yada. And, and then I was like, well, go on. And then she said, well, you just want to have certain features because you just have the desire to want to be liked. And I said, wait a second. You said the desire to be liked. Where is that from? And she said, oh, I had a strict mom growing up. And so that is one example of how like I I stop the conversation when I hear something suspicious and I make you talk it through a little further than then maybe you would have you're giving yourself the time to do that. So it's because society and the media pressure, it definitely is a huge factor. But how I kind of equate it is that if we're like boats on the ocean, right? And
Right.
and society and culture and the media are like the giant waves that come in a storm. But the thing is though, is that if you don't have that anchor down in the at the bottom of the ocean, keeping your boat in place, you're gonna be flying with this tide. And that anchor is like the root of your body image issues. If you don't have that anchor down, you're just gonna be like floating around all over the place because there's an individualistic level of awareness that we all need to adopt. And when we uncover that, then we can start doing the big work that we need to get done.
Yeah, and that totally makes sense. And I can see how you start somewhere, you start with a conversation of what you think the problem is, and you keep diving deeper and keep diving deeper and keep diving deeper until you find it. And that totally makes sense.
Yes.
So speaking of diving deeper, I know we're going to take a much deeper dive into this conversation in the next interview. And unfortunately, we're coming to the end of this one, and it doesn't seem like we've been talking that long.
Oh.
But is there anything else that we need to know about how to love our body now before we let you go?
I say the thing that you need to know is that it does take some time, and it takes a certain amount of awareness to be able to dive deeper and deeper and deeper. And sometimes it can be a little scary, but really the first step in order to go in this direction is just to start talking about it, because too many times we try to run away from it. And it's not until we start saying something to people around us, it's not until we say we have a problem that we actually get the love and support we need, that we actually have people who are stopping us in our tracks and be like, wait, you just said this. Do you realize like what you're doing to yourself? Because sometimes we need that outside ear to let us know what's going on. So I say, first of all, just look at what you're saying to yourself and say it out loud. Say it out loud to yourself. Say it out loud to the people around you. Say it to me if you want to talk to me. Say it to Marissa. Just say it, because it gets easier from there, even though it seems super, super scary. But believe me, we've all been there.
Yeah. And I love that last bit of your message. Like, we've all been there. You're not alone in this. This is not something that you by yourself, sitting in your office or sitting in your bedroom or standing in front of your mirror, are feeling all by yourself. We've all been there and done that. And reaching out to others around you to get some assistance is the first step to really getting yourself where you want to be. So thank you for reminding people of that, Amy. That's super important. So before we let you take off, how can people reach out to you if they want to work with you, access some of your resources? How can they reach out to you?
Well, let's see. So they can download my free guide, the 2018 Summer Guide to Confidence.
Nice.
That, yay, because too many times we hear about like, hey, summer's coming up. This is how you can get into swimsuit. I'm like, you can just, there's like hundreds of kinds of swimsuits. You can just like pick any old swimsuit that will flatter your beautiful body and just go enjoy the beach. Like, that's just one of the tips that is in this confidence guide. So it's time that we go into summer with just more confidence, as opposed to like, I just want to be someone else.
Yep.
And then you can also email me at amy@amylanci.com, or check out my website at amylanci.com.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Amy. Guys, those buttons are below this video. Make sure you click on those and take advantage of some of the resources that Amy is sharing with you today. Even if you don't think you struggle with not loving your body, there's going to be information inside these resources that is going to help you find that place where you love your body more. So definitely check those out. For those of you that are part of the All Access Pass, stick around, because we're going to be taking a much, much deeper dive with Amy in just a few minutes. If you have not yet grabbed your ticket to that All Access Pass, click on the button below and grab yours now, because not only do you get all of these live versions that you are seeing right now, but you're also going to get all the deeper dives that I'm taking with every single speaker, and you get lifetime access to those inside that All Access Pass. You do not want to miss this one, so definitely snag that right now before those are gone. Amy, thank you so much for being here, and guys, we will see you inside the All Access Pass. Bye, everyone.